If you would have told me 7 months ago that in about a year or so you would realize that Creepshot is a stalker, I would not have believed you. There's nothing you could have done to make me believe that. Hey guys, Jean here. Today we'll be talking about Creepshot and the Emily Artful situation. But before that, let me give you guys an update on the lolcow drama thing. There's actually more information that came out that points in the direction that, yeah, it's Shannon, even though it's obvious that it's Shannon. But anywho, I really respect the person who is giving this update, so yeah. Every day, multiple times a day for the last week, we've all compared text messages and DMs over the last year and keep finding more and more contradictions that discredit so much and aren't ready to share them. The last one is bad. Really eager to see at Emily Artful's video. I understand tweets of people questioning why certain things are red flags to us, but there's another layer to them that can't be seen on the surface until everyone's ready. These are private conversations. All I can say after this week is, what the fudge? She told me the other day she had lolcow on a blockchain for years so that she couldn't view it if she wanted to. And it's been a year since she last looked. 3 months ago, she told someone else she was actively browsing. So yeah, remember in my last video I said that one of the few things that made me respect Creepshot was the fact that she helped Davi Vanity survivors like Ashley Lilly. And now here's Ashley Lilly saying that Creepshot lied to her. Yeah, I do not have any respect for Shannon anymore. Not after what Ashley Lilly has said and not after what Emily Artful has said, which we'll get into. I never expected that Creepshot could be this deplorable. There is nothing that could make me go, oh well, maybe Shannon isn't really that bad. Anywho, let's talk about this actual subject matter of this video. That's the Emily Artful situation. So yesterday, Emily Artful uploaded a video in which she claimed that Creepshot had been stalking her and has caused her a lot of distress. And in this video, I'll be examining those claims. I would encourage you to check out Emily Artful's video because it's her story and hearing it from her voice is a lot better than hearing my commentary of it. So if you haven't watched it, please go ahead and watch it. I'll leave a link in the description. This video is 2 hours long, so if you want to save some time, you can watch it at 1.5 speed, or you can even double the speed. In my opinion, I do believe Emily Artful. Part of me just wants to say that we should believe Emily Artful. I hear the pain in her voice when I watched that video. It's obvious she is very distressed and very stressed out about the situation. When she talks about her experiences with the stalker, I can feel that she was genuinely scared for her life at that time. But I can't really say we should believe Emily Artful because of that. I think we should look at the evidence and see what it says. Or else, couldn't the same thing be applied to Jeffree Star when he said that, oh, James Charles is a predator, and there was quite literally no evidence to back it up? Should we have believed Jeffree Star back then? I mean, James Charles now, we know about him now, but at that time, there was no evidence. So I do think that we should look at the evidence and see what it says. And in this case, just like in any other serious situation that's being discussed in a YouTube video by an influencer, there was certain information that cannot be shared by a public influencer. Because if Emily did share them, it would be considered doxing, like sharing the IP address, sharing some of the personal details. If Emily ever shared those details, she'll be doxing them, so she can't reveal those details. But at the same time, if you don't reveal those details, how do we really know that your story is true and not just a story? So, most of the time when YouTubers are talking about serious situations, there is this weird dilemma that you're faced with. Either you have to reveal everything and dox some public figures, or you don't do that and let your story be just a story. And until some authorities can confirm that, yeah, that happened, and yes, this person was behind this thing, there's no real way to confirm whether the situation actually happened. But in this particular case, I believe that Emily Artful has given us enough information that we can reasonably say Creepshot was probably behind stalking Emily. Reasonably. And really, there is no need for her to share the IP addresses. So let's talk about it. First of all, we'll need to introduce another character in the story named Anthony Parker. I may refer to him as Andrew in this video, just because I have been listening to Emily Artful, and in her video she refers to him as Andrew as well. So remember, Anthony, Andrew, same person, who is Emily Artful's ex-boyfriend and Shannon's current partner. She met him in Nickel City, San Jose, California, when she was around 18 or 19. According to Emily, he was an abusive person, and as all abusive relationships go, they fell in love super fast. According to Emily, he used to punch holes in the drywall and regularly cheat on Emily. The relationship that they had was a codependent one. Emily also states that Anthony and his friend Brandon fantasized about shooting up their school in great detail, talking about who they would want to off. A lot of times she would be scared of him. She was also RAPED and emotionally manipulated by him. One of the reasons that she gave for her falling in such an abusive relationship like that was because of her addiction, which is understandable. When you're dealing with problems like addiction, you are surrounded by really, really terrible people. So one day, she made a comment on one of her openly gay friends' posts, just giving them a comment saying, "You're looking hot today, winky face." And when Andrew found out about it, he and Brandon allegedly threatened to physically hurt her and told her how awful of a person she was. The next day, Emily drove to Andrew's workplace so they could talk after her shift was over, but he didn't came in that day. An interesting thing to note here is that Shannon worked where Andrew worked. And Emily and Shannon knew of each other, but they weren't like close friends or anything. So they broke up. Weeks later, Anthony reached out to Emily to get back together. But Emily soon realized it was not healthy and cut him off. Then he apparently became interested in pursuing a professional relationship, as Emily was a gig musician, she was a singer, and he was also interested in music. When she heard one of the tracks that he was working on, she heard a woman's voice on that track and she said, "Man, this girl's voice is weak." And she ended up replacing that other woman on the track. What Emily essentially did there was she put another woman down to raise herself up. And turns out that other woman was Shannon. When she started working professionally with Andrew, she started to notice that she was receiving some hate comments on her social media, but she thought nothing of it. She also started to receive a few more Facebook requests from strangers who she had a few mutuals with. Unfortunately, she ended up accepting their friend requests. Turns out someone was phishing her and they ended up locking Emily out of their own Facebook account. And this Facebook account she has had for years, since she was a minor. And in the messages of that account were some compromising photos and videos, some of which were of Emily as a minor. And she tried to express that fact to her stalker, but they just ended up saying that Emily is a liar and ended up putting those photos in a photo bucket account and taunted her with them. She tried to get hold of her Facebook account, but she was not successful. She tried emailing Facebook, but she was not able to get hold of her Facebook account because her Facebook recovery address and mobile number had been changed. She was, however, able to get the location of the last login, and I believe even the IP address, and it pointed to someone in San Jose, California. At the same time, she had no idea who it could be, as she has lived there since she was born, so it could be anyone. But later on, it started to become clear who it was. At this time, Emily didn't have a regular job because drugs, and she worked as a cam girl for a while. She says that she didn't want it to do it, implying that there was someone else who was in control. I don't really know the situation there, as she doesn't talk about it that much. But later on, she tried getting a regular job, and when she got a regular job, according to Emily, this stalker/stalkers got her fired from a job because the stalker sent her boss some compromising video of Emily acting as if they were regular clients and just being like, look at your horrible receptionist. And she got fired. And she ended up homeless because of it. Also, now that we're talking about homelessness, there's something else that I need to mention. Shannon was not really homeless, as it was a choice for them. Here's Andrew Parker talking about him deciding to be homeless.
So in this video, I wanted to go over what it was like to be homeless, or kind of partially be homeless, living out of a car for about 2.5, 3 years or so. And keep in mind, this was a conscious decision to do this. We didn't get evicted and thrown out on the street or something like that. We planned for this for about 6 months to about a year or so. And I also thought it would be kind of fun to go over the recording rig that I had kept while we were living out of the car, and how I managed timing and working on headphones and a computer in the public library just during their operating hours. Around 2015 or so, a few friends and I decided that it was a good idea to try and save rent money by moving into our cars, essentially. We weren't too happy living in California, and the rent is atrociously high, and it's just getting higher. The culture there is it's kind of pathetic. I mean, because what's weird about San Jose specifically, and a lot of the southern parts of Silicon Valley, there's not really a dominant culture there.
And remember, Shannon and Andrew were together, so yeah. And by the way, this is something that Shannon admits to herself. So yeah, there's no doubt that they are together. Just look at this screenshot. This is provided by Emily during the confrontation she had with Shannon, where she says that she was homeless off and on for a while with Andrew. And here's Ashley Lilly saying that, yeah, they both had the same phone number. So yeah, they were together. There's no doubt about it. So when Shannon says that she was homeless, she was not really homeless. And by the way, Emily's livelihood was not threatened once, but multiple times because of the stalker/stalkers. A lot of the things that Emily says until now doesn't have evidence to back it up. And this is something that Emily herself addresses, and she says that until 2017, when she actually sat down and discussed this situation with a lawyer, she didn't knew that she should have screenshotted everything and she should have kept all the evidence, because everyone around her told her that, hey, just block and delete, which is understandable. That's exactly the same shit I do right now. And right now I have a YouTube channel. At the time, Emily didn't even had a YouTube channel. So it is understandable why she would just want to delete everything. And it wasn't until 2017 that she actually started to keep evidence of everything. So at this point, Emily had started her Emily Artful YouTube channel, and she was doing a lot better now. She was sober and she was on a healthy path. One day, one of her videos goes viral with 200,000 views, which at the time, remember, she had a really small YouTube channel. So she was pretty happy about it, as she should be. And she talked about it on Twitter, saying, hey, look, one of her videos went viral. And after making that tweet, she thought, well, 200,000 isn't really viral. It's sort of like mini viral. So she made another tweet saying that it was mini viral. Anthony Parker follows her on Twitter immediately after she made those posts and insinuated that she bought subs and followers. Buying 100k views for a few $100s isn't viral, Judd, just FYI. Also, why do you keep blocking me? Hey everyone, she's a blogger and a meanie. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Disgusting. After Anthony made those tweets, Emily received messages from a sock puppet account called notviral_Emily, which also insinuated that Emily had bought subscribers and views. So you paid for these. That much is obvious. No, I actually didn't. If you look at my video, You're Not an Artist, around that same time you'll see it got big. All those subs were mostly gained from that video. I have a child now. I gotta spend my cash on diapers and formula, dude. It's a waste of money to buy subs. Sure, what you just said implies buying subs, you see. The idea behind just buying views/subs for one video would be smart if it wasn't so horribly shown. So you're telling me none of those viewers browse your other videos? 'Cause looking at them, they didn't. Nice try though. Better luck next time. Also, 200,000 isn't viral. It's silly no one else has called you out on it. 'Cause damn, is it obvious? And remember, Anthony's tweets and the sock puppet account's messages were on the same day, quite literally within an hour of each other. So it is very, very, very likely that it was Andrew after all behind that sock puppet account. Or it could be Shannon. I mean, I do read Shannon's voice there. When Emily made her Emily Artful account, she made a series called Sketchbook Storytimes. Later on, she learns that Creepshow Art had also called her series where she makes art in the background and talks about her stories, Sketchbook Storytimes. And at this point, Emily didn't know whether Shannon was Andrew's partner or not. She had no idea. But she reached out to Shannon on Instagram and they had a pretty cool conversation together. And Shannon ended up removing Sketchbook Storytimes from her titles. Although it is a generic name, it doesn't really matter that much. But because of this interaction, Emily started to follow Shannon on Instagram. And later on, Shannon made some art of Andrew and tagged them on an Instagram post, and Emily saw it. And that's when Emily freaked out and unfollowed Shannon. Some days later, Emily received a Snapchat from Kilgo Trout, and they sent her a picture of a loft, which Emily assumed was in her city. Emily therefore says, "Are you in my city?" And Kilgo responds, "Somewhere, I suppose, in its labyrinths." And Emily responds, "You're fucking insane." Her reaction is understandable as she now knows that it is Andrew that's her stalker. She knows that for sure now, because of something we'll talk about later on. And she knows how Andrew is. She knows that Andrew has fantasized about shooting up a school, for instance, and who he would want to off in that school. So it's understandable that she might be fearful of Andrew, because who knows what he might do. He is such an unstable person. He used to punch holes in the fucking wall. Who knows what if he actually came over and offed Emily? That's a real possibility when you have a stalker. So she says, "Answer me, you drove all the way here?" "I don't have a driver's license yet. My parents drove me here." "Why?" "I have prolonged fits of daydreaming at times." This is something that made Emily really, really scared for her life. As she started to think, well, what could Andrew do? Andrew is such an unstable person that she doesn't know what he might do if he is actually in her city. And she ended up saying to her stalker that she has a gun in the house that she knows how to use, and she has a professionally trained dog And if he ever came over, she would be forced to use that gun to protect herself. Here are some more messages. Are you in my city? That's no proof that you're here, assuming that she's actually responding to a picture. It breaks my heart you do this, that you want to hurt me. I wish you'd put that energy into your music. You have so much potential and you're wasting it all on this obsession with me. The valiant taste of death, but once, cowards fear it many times. He then sends her this. All art is to be, alas, a reflection of its creators, humans who have been called to fill that void with art. For example, the mind-bending, thumb-bending video, or the alternative art of Emily Artful, who have, with the art, only created a greater void. Now, you can be of two minds of this. You could say, well, this is clearly trolling, or you could say that this is him trying to be poetically terrifying. And when you're considering that this person has hurt Emily in the past and used to fantasize about shooting up schools, I think the latter might be the better interpretation. Just my opinion. Emily then responds with this. I don't understand why you think I'm so evil. That because I'm such a bad person in your eyes that everything I create is somehow devoid of feeling? Then he sends, all art reflects the greater void of human limitations. Alas, Mother's Day cards and subscriber drawings are no exception. Only the mind-bending, thumb-bending video can transcend this void through its sheer bendery and avant-gardeness. Now this seems like trolling to me, but at the same time, if this person was in your city, would you say the same thing? By the way, I didn't realize Shannon was your girlfriend until I started following her on Instagram and she posted about working with you. I kind of panicked and unfollowed her. No disrespect, of course. I just don't want any contact. And the reason I haven't told her about you harassing me is because I really don't want to ruin your life. I genuinely want you to be happy. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It just didn't feel right. Just don't come to my apartment and don't bother my family. You can keep making accounts and keep trying to prove you're someone else. Keep telling me I'm awful or saying KYS, off yourself. I have 100% undeniable proof it is you. You clicked the link. You gave me what I needed. I don't want to ruin your life, dude. I just want to be left alone. These specific messages make me so fucking sad for Emily. You can see her trying to set some kind of boundary by saying to him that, hey, please don't come to my house. Do not fucking bother my family. You can do whatever the fuck you want on the internet, but don't bother me or my family. She's trying to have boundaries, and yet she's also trying to not set her stalker off as well. She's walking this thin line, and it just makes me so sad. This particular post and a few posts after this just scream fear to me. Anyways, he then responds with, Mother's Day cards are but a shadow of the mind-bending, thumb-bending video. I may have to unsubscribe unless your content can reflect the profundity of the mind-bending, thumb-bending video with something that is not a lightweight craft nor an update on your pregnancy. I am so glad that I never had a stalker. Because this kind of mindfuckery, I cannot handle that shit. So when Emily was talking about, you clicked the link and you gave me what I needed, what happened was she baited one of the accounts that Andrew was using, one of the sock puppet accounts, into clicking a link by pretending to be another hater of Emily, which gave Emily the IP address of where Andrew and Shannon lived. This was the first time that she had done it, but not the only time. She had also done it with another account, which we're gonna call the Lily Singh account, because its name's Lily Singh. And she was able to bait the Lily Singh account to click a link, and it pointed to a location of a library, which makes sense, because they both have said in public videos that when they were homeless, quote unquote, when they decided to be homeless, they used to go there for Wi-Fi. And actually, in the previous screenshots of Snapchat that I showed you, the stalker that we're talking about, that's Andrew and Shannon, they were leaving breadcrumbs that maybe the stalker of Emily was a minor. because, his parents drove him there and he didn't have a license. But it was too late. Emily knew everything, as she knew that the IP address belonged to Andrew. Now, there might be one question in your mind, which I also had, and it is that how do you know that Shannon was involved in the first place? How do you know that? How do you know that it wasn't just Andrew? Well, the first reason to think that it might be Shannon and not just Andrew is the fact that as time went on, the style of talking of her stalker changed. In the beginning, it was vaguely threatening with a hint of trolling added in there, but later on, the style of the talking changed. As we can see in Not Viral / Emily's messages, these messages don't seem like they came from Andrew. Like, we've just seen messages that came from Andrew, right? Like that mind-bending, thumb-bending bullshit. Yeah, that's Andrew. With a hint of trolling added in there and a sense of threat. But Not Viral _ Emily's messages did not seem like that. It was more mean girl-ish. It was, for lack of a better term, bitchy. And there are a lot more comments that I did not show you guys here that shows that, yeah, a lot of these posts had Shannon's style of talking. And also remember, she herself has said that, yes, her partner is in fact Andrew in the confrontation that Emily has. And this confrontation seems to be the main evidence here. So here's the confrontation that took place. Are you the one that's been stalking me? Or is it Anthony? We can be candid now because I know it's one of you. Those fake accounts you've been making have led me right to blank, Oregon. I suspected it was him at first when he went on his spree on his main account on Twitter, trying to convince my followers I bought my subscribers and my views. Almost immediately after he did that, a mysterious new Twitter account accused me of the same thing, also with an IP from that area in Oregon. When I first started to get harassed, you both must have still been in San Jose, because that IP came from somewhere in there. But at that time, I had no idea who it was. But over time, in order to protect myself and my family, I decided to get smarter. So I just don't know if it's you or him. Either way, I've been giving all this information to the police, including the more accurate IP from that Lily Singh account. All I ask is to be left alone by you and your boyfriend. It's been 8 years. Literally neither, dude. Then why did your boyfriend go off on me randomly for quote-unquote buying subs and views, like from his actual account? This happened almost a year ago. Look, honestly, I'm sorry for what you've been going through. I don't know you all that well, but accusing us of doing shit we don't know about isn't cool. Like, Anthony already told me that you thought he did it, and honestly, I didn't worry about it because it didn't seem that big of a deal. Also, about that sub buying thing, I got messaged about that as well. Like 5 accounts messaged me, and I know they messaged other art YouTubers. They also messaged me edits of shit about you from before the Emily Artful account. Shit that's literally none of my business at all. Look, all I'm saying is that I want to be left alone. If it's not you, then great. But I just find it strange I have zero contact with Anthony, and then he just explodes at me randomly from his personal account with his name attached to it. I feel ya, but I can guarantee it's not him. If you want to Skype or FaceTime, I'm up for it. But literally, I have nothing to hide on this end. And with that said, Anthony has a trollish sense of humor. He thought it was funny, but I get it, it crossed the line. Really? I don't believe that because literally no other art YouTuber has said anything about that to me. I'm friends with a handful of them. Why just you? Please understand why this sounds strange. Yeah, it does sound very strange. Yeah, I get it would be like him if I had any contact with him. He wasn't even following me at the time. It was 100% random, 100%. It was very confusing to me. The name was like Filter. They also had a sob story about how you wronged them once upon a time. Again, none of this was my business. Again, he thought it was funny. And they sent him shit. And we don't have the time to mess with you. Honest to God, we've been homeless on and off, working shitty jobs and working on our art a lot. Like, we don't have a time to obsess over you and your really cute family. I want to say no offense, but like, that's not offensive. I can't really explain why Anthony is as random as he is, though. That one's a mystery. I just think he thought it was funny. It wasn't. But he'd never intentionally try to hurt you. He's got a lot of respect for you, like you've collaborated with him and his music. You know how important that is to him. He's not that type of a person who lets someone in like that and then switches on them. You know, if that makes any sense. I feel like it does. I don't know. I'm going to be filing a restraining order. I just have too much evidence to believe otherwise. I will not be pressing any charges because, like I've said, I don't want to hurt or ruin anyone's lives. I'm just a little afraid now that I'm a mother. I want to protect my children and my family at any cost. The restraining order will prevent Anthony and you from contacting me ever again. But that's okay because we don't really talk anyways. So if it's not you, you have nothing to worry about because the private investigator will locate the address with the new IP. And if it's not you guys, then the hunt continues. Look, if I'm wrong, please forgive me. I know I may seem crazy, but it's been 8 years of harassment and I have an obligation not only to myself, but to my children. That's why I've done nothing until this point. I didn't care that it was just happening to me, but my kids are my whole life. No, I understand completely. I'm sorry. I know I sound insane if you really have nothing to do with this, but I just have to go with my gut. Again, if it's not you guys, then that'll prove itself. Honestly, there's no way for me to prove it's not me, but it'll sort itself out. No, I completely understand that point. You have a family. Blank. That's a huge deal for me. I would never try to hurt someone with that. But there's no way you can actually know that for sure, because you don't know me. This is where Shannon discloses some information about her to gain some sympathy points, which is unfortunately working. Emily has said in her video that she is quite a weak-willed person, and if someone shows kindness to her, she will bend to their will, which actually sounds exactly the person I see in the mirror every day. Anyways, here's what Emily says. Yeah, I know, Shannon. I know you don't, and I'm sorry. I really am sorry. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. But I just have to do this. When I first suspected Anthony, I actually worried about you. Part of me wanted to reach out to make sure you were okay, but I wasn't sure what was real or what wasn't. All I know is that he has too much respect for you to do that. I don't know you well enough to spend time on it, and you need to do what's right for you. I thought it was maybe Anthony and Brandon for a time, especially because Brandon is so intense and that could be contagious. And this is where Creepshow Ward switches and places blame on Brandon. I think it's Brandon. Last year, Brandon tried to get me fired because Anthony essentially chose me over him. Also, he tried to have an art YouTube and it hasn't been going well. We all moved to blank location together, lived in cars together, and he essentially tried to drive Anthony and I apart. I wouldn't be surprised if it was him. Where does Brandon live now? Mainly because he has tried shit with me before and Anthony had to step in. I don't know. Somewhere in blank location still. Oh, apparently he lives in blank. I just asked Anthony. Okay, I'll give that information to the private investigator. Look, you don't know how badly I want to believe it's not you guys. I wanted to believe it was some random nut job. Yeah, I completely understand. Completely. Do what you need to do. And as for Brandon, if he is or was behind it, we don't know. Anthony wouldn't have let you near him, and I just didn't like being around him in general. You need to keep yourself safe and do what feels right. Getting a private investigator and protecting your family is exactly right. I have nothing but respect for you for that. If you ever need more info on either Anthony, Brandon, or I, either to clear my name or even if it makes us look worse, let me know. Yes, exactly, lol. Thank you, Shannon. You both are wildly talented and intelligent people, and I'd ask for more information, but I worry about doing wrong to you unjustly. Like I could just ask for your exact address and have Anthony served with papers. But I'd truly worry if I was wrong. I'd feel awful. I'll just let the private investigator and the police take care of it. This person, whoever it is, has been doing less in recent years, so I'm just hoping they'd stop altogether. It's motherhood that's making me distressed and paranoid more than anything. Shannon then says, oh, okay. If I gave you a PO box, would it be okay to serve them there? Or we can get something notarized that says something similar. That way you don't have to spend any money. You have a legal document stating we won't contact you, and if it ends up being not us, we can just let bygones be bygones. I don't know, I just realized that makes no sense. Actually, that would be great. Is the PO box in your name or Anthony's name? This would probably help eliminate you guys, if anything. It's both of us. My full name is Shannon Blank, if that also helps. You don't understand how much I appreciate this. You really don't. Yes, the PO address would be great. Then, information? Like, I'm actually getting a little emotional because I have been worried it's been you guys. Thank you so much. No, I understand completely. I really am happy to help, even if that means following a restraining order or a notarized letter. Regardless, I know how important it is to feel safe, and you deserve that much. Now, after all of this, Emily had a choice whether to hire an attorney and a private investigator and spend all that cash that she had saved up to file a restraining order, or to use that money to spend time with her family and spend it on her kids. And time starts to pass by, and she slowly started to upload again. And she was never contacted by her stalker ever again. Another big reason as to why it's likely that the stalker was Shannon was because right after this confrontation, the stalker never contacted Emily again. So really, there are two reasons as to why it's likely that Emily's stalker was Shannon and Andrew. We know that it was Andrew for sure. We are pretty sure that it's Shannon because of the style of talking and the fact that right after the confrontation with Shannon, the stalker never contacted Emily again. So those are the two reasons as to why it's likely that Emily's other stalker was Shannon. But of course, it is not hardcore proof. It's not. Let's just admit it right away. It is very likely that it's Shannon. I mean, come on, Andrew was her partner. How did you not know that your partner was so obsessed with another person? How did you not know that? And also, if Shannon had nothing to do with this, how could you stay in a relationship with someone who had this giant obsession with another girl? You know, I mean, there must be some signs that Shannon had seen somewhere, right? They have been in a relationship for years at this point. Shannon had to have seen something, right? That made her think, this obsession isn't really healthy. So why did she stay with Andrew? That makes no sense. Also, now that we know Emily's story, Shannon's community post seems really strange. It seems like the exact copy of what Emily went through, and she named her stalker Amy, and I think it's because she wanted to place blame on Emily, because Amy and Emily sound similar. But if Amy was Emily, Shannon must have proof that Emily admitted to being Shannon's stalker, because she has said in her community post that yes, that person admitted to being Shannon's stalker, and from this conversation, it seems like the opposite. So yeah, that's all that I have for this video. Like this video if you liked it. Comment your thoughts down below about what you think. It's been 2 hours since I've been recording this video, and I need a break and I need some sleep. Also, some water would be great. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Also subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Bye guys.